Wisconsin Eye's 2014 election coverage is brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice for Wisconsin hospitals, supporting high-quality, high-value care in communities like yours.
Wisconsin Eye is at the Brown County Library, interviewing candidates for the 2014 elections. We're interviewing Martha Lanning of Sheboygan. She's running in Senate District 9 as a Democrat. Martha, welcome to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you for inviting me.
And a program note, Wisconsin Eye appreciates the support of the Wisconsin Hospital Association, which represents more than 139 hospitals and health systems, for making these candidate interviews possible. Martha, first-time candidate for state office?
I am.
Need the short version of your background, a bio, please.
All right. I was born and raised here in the state of Wisconsin, in the Wisconsin Rapids area. Went off to UW-Madison, got a accounting and personnel management undergrad there. Married for 24 years next month, have 3 beautiful children, 2 down at UW-Madison visiting my old alumni, and 1 who's a senior at Sheboygan North High. Went back and got an MBA in finance, and I worked for a couple Fortune 500 companies, Kraft Foods and Target stores, worked for a startup environmental land management, and most recently in my district worked to make a 10-year dream of an intergenerational center a reality.
Let's talk about that, the Plymouth Intergenerational Coalition. What was the need and how did you meet it?
Well, it was a grassroots group of people who had come together 10 years before I got there to say, you know, we really need a new senior center and we really need a new facility for our licensed child care center. Could we raise the money and bring them together? So they hired me in 2008 to make that a reality, and that's right when the stock market crashed. We were all ready. We were actually launching a party, and the stock market crashed. End result was we secured a $1 million federal stimulus grant if the community could show support for it. And we raised the $3.8 million necessary to get it started by April 15th of 2010, opened it in 2011, and paid it all off at the end of 2012.
And who's served by it?
We have a diverse community, everywhere from 6 weeks old up to 104 years old was our oldest participant. It has a full senior center in it. It has a couple Head Start classrooms. It has a full service child care center, and then another wonderful nonprofit, the Family Resource Center of Sheboygan County. And in the center is a community center where everybody in the community can come enjoy. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful place where generations mix and share and learn with one another.
That's quite a project. I want to get into issues this way.
Okay.
You say on your website, corporations and wealthy must pay their fair share of taxes. Are they not paying them now?
Well, I was really interested when I decided to run for office. I started investigating because I have an MBA in finance, as I mentioned, and where's all the money going? Fox News reported that the top 25 companies in the state of Wisconsin, 2/3 of them don't pay a single dollar of income tax, state income tax. So actually you pay more than GE does to the state of Wisconsin. And I think that's just concerning. We need to be sure that those businesses pay for the court systems that defend their patents and pay for the firehouses and police stations that protect their investments, because otherwise all the rest of us are paying more than our fair share. So I think we just need to fix things a little bit,
How would
tweak
you
them.
fix that? Flat tax corporations or what?
You know, I think we need to bring a group of business people together, accountants together, and sit down and look at the tax code and evaluate it. I don't think it's something we can just, this is what we need to do. We need to, long term, just ensure that there aren't loopholes there that are allowing some people who can afford high-powered attorneys and lawyers to get out of paying their fair share, leaving all the rest of us paying more than our fair share.
When I talk to candidates and ask them about issues, invariably they lead with public schools. Mm-hmm. So if you're a member of the Senate and the next 2-year budget is debating public schools, what are going to be your priorities?
Public schools are dear to my heart. My dad grew up in a very poor northern Wisconsin family. He actually quit school when he was in high school so that he could join the Merchant Marines and send home money for his family's survival. And when he came back, it was a public school teacher who reached out to him and encouraged him to finish his high school degree. And it was the GI Bill that allowed him to become a chemical engineer. And that is why I'm here. And so I am a big believer in public schools and giving people that ladder up. We have to reevaluate how we're funding public schools. I've talked to almost every single one of the schools in my district, sat down with superintendent, school board president, or both, and found that everyone is saying that the formula may have worked in the past, but it's just not working now. And so we need to reevaluate so we ensure that our kids continue to get a great education in Wisconsin, which will attract businesses. It's what brought my husband and I to our area, is that we said Wisconsin are great schools and we want our kids to be in Wisconsin with those great schools.
And should some of those corporations who you said are not paying their fair share, should they contribute towards a new school aid formula?
Absolutely. I mean, they're coming to our state, and they are hiring people within our state, and they should be paying back to the community that's helping them make a profit. You know, I think that's what it's all about. We need to not have the pendulum swing too far one way or another. We are stronger when everybody is doing well, when our school system is strong, our businesses are strong, and our community is strong.
Part of the issue when you talk about schools next year is vouchers and school choice. Your position on those?
We can't afford them.
Shut down the entire program?
We cannot afford to be investing in every school in the state of Wisconsin. It's just not feasible. We're going to spread the limited amount of resources that we have for schools across too many schools. And what ends up happening is we have a lot of mediocre schools. We need to be sure that we invest in our public schools. We need our school board, local school boards can decide what to be doing. If we think that there's a benefit to having a charter school underneath that school board, I am in full support of that. If that local school board wants to do that, I'm in full support of that. But we need to be sure that we are ensuring that our schools are strong. And in the areas that they aren't, we need to get in there and fix it.
Would you keep Joyce for the City of Milwaukee schools that have had it for more than 25 years?
Do you know, I think that's a very tough decision, because the statistics that have been presented to me show that it's not working. The intent of it was to allow people living in poverty to be able to get a better school option. But the statistics that I've seen are showing that at very best they're the same as the public schools, and in many cases they're far worse than the public schools. So again, I don't think it's a matter of saying that the schools are bad or good. It's a matter of we need to invest our resources in a limited number of schools so that we can ensure that we're capitalizing on their strength.
Governor Walker wants to get rid of Common Core standards. Your position?
Do you know, I am not an educator. I have a background in finance, and so what I did with this issue is, again, as I mentioned, I talked to a lot of school districts, superintendents, teachers, and school boards, and I have found from all of them that they are supporting Common Core. Okay. I just have a real hard time with the state stepping in and telling educators, the professionals in the field, that this isn't a good idea. Now, on the flip side of that, I'll tell you, I used to live in McFarland, Wisconsin, and there were concerns there with parents saying, I don't understand this new math, and there's things going on like that. You need to have, the schools need to be encouraged to have teachers or parents come in, and we need to tell parents what some of these new things are so that it's not so daunting, or it helps the parents help their kids at home. So we need to do those kind of things, but I really think that the state legislature should stay out of it.
Okay. Transportation funding. The Taxpayers Alliance said if you fund transportation at 2013 levels for 10 years, deficit of $2 billion. How would you make that up?
Well, obviously that's a concern. The first thing that I would do is we need to ensure that we're spending our dollars wisely, that we're looking at what projects can we manage in a less expensive way. Good example, Plymouth, Wisconsin on Highway 23 had 3 intersections that we just put J-turns into. Yet there is a suggestion out there that 2 of those roads may be closed in the next 5 years, and one of them is supposed to have a viaduct. So my question was, why, if that could be happening, if we could be doing that to these roads, why would we spend all this money to put in these very expensive J-turns? And I was told it's because it's a very high accident rate. So they wanted to stop traffic from going across Highway 23 or turning left from one of the side roads. And my question was, why don't we put up a sign that said right turn only? and it was just a flat look at me. I think we need to, use common sense to say, hey, let's try this first. We're going to put up a sign that says you're not allowed to cross here anymore or take a left turn. You can do right turns only. It could have been $1 million spending versus, $200. So we need to make those decisions. And then secondly, I'm very impressed by the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, came in and gave a presentation that I had the privilege of hearing, and they have started a group of bipartisan people to evaluate what are we going to do. The issue is that we're not collecting as much tax because we have so many fuel-efficient cars out there that, they're using less gas, which is great. They're evaluating that, and if need be, they may be asking us to pay a few more cents per gallon of gas tax to ensure that our roads aren't wrecking our suspension systems. So I think...
You'd be willing to consider that?
I certainly would.
Okay.
Yes,
Let's talk about health care. 1 in 5 Wisconsin residents get their health care from Medicaid. American Hospital Association says our Medicaid reimbursement rates are second lowest from the bottom. Is it time to increase those?
Yes. This is a really concerning issue, and it's something that everybody needs to be aware of. One is that the quality of health care in Wisconsin is being affected by this. If the state is mandating that you offer this care, and then they say we're only going to pay you 40 to 60% of the cost, that is a formula that a business cannot succeed at. If you have too many people on, and if 1 in 4, 1 in 5 are on that, you're in deep trouble as a business. I personally had an experience with this. My father recently was in an assisted living facility. We picked a great one, and what I'm learning is that the pay that we are offering so that we can stay in business is so low that the quality of care is really bad. And unfortunately, he went out walking one night, fell, and was found missing at 2 o'clock in the morning, and nobody went looking for him. And it's heartbreaking. We have to ensure that the quality of care in our facilities meets our standards, Wisconsin standards. And so we have to solve that problem. We have no option.
There'll be a bill introduced for medical marijuana. State of Washington, Colorado legalize recreational use. Your positions?
Medical marijuana to me is, we already allow doctors to give out narcotics that they prescribe. And I have seen studies that show that people who are undergoing chemotherapy can use marijuana and have real benefits from it. People who have seizures can use marijuana and live a more normal life. I think we need to leave those decisions in a doctor's hands. They can decide if it's appropriate or not appropriate. As far as recreational use, I really think that we need to take some time to evaluate that. I need a lot more information to see why we would want to move forward with that.
The mining bill that cleared the way potentially for Gogebic to apply for an open pit iron mine, Ashland and Iron counties. Would you have voted for that?
No, I would not have voted for it. Couple reasons. One is I believe in local control. I think that the people of that area should get to decide. My father, as I said, was from up north. My grandfather mined in Michigan. So I am clearly aware of the fact of the need for jobs up in northern Wisconsin, but let the people up there decide what risks they're willing to take, number one. Number two is the things that really concern me about that bill is it is the only company in the state of Wisconsin that does not need to abide by our environmental standards. And why we would make that exception is very concerning to me. And third, it's literally written into that bill that the damage that they do to our water supply, our wetlands, that they are not responsible for it. And that, again, is very concerning to me. I think we need to have a much more balanced bill. I love the idea of jobs, but let's be sure we're not harming our environment to the detriment and causing families to be drinking water that have pollutants that could harm them.
First offense, drunken driving. Should it be a crime in Wisconsin?
That's really tough because we all hate to hear about drunk driving. I think there's a lot of communities, nonprofits that have done a great job of moving forward with educating people to not drink and drive. I would like to see us use our court system to educate people more. They get a big fine, the cost of getting through it, but we need to realize that giving those type of penalties versus jail time may be just as effective as jail time would be.
Okay, and finally, I want to highlight any differences between you and your opponent on November 4?
Absolutely. My background in business has given me a lot of skills. Fortune 500, working in a nonprofit and starting that whole business up for that nonprofit. Particularly creative problem solving. I'm often asked to go into an issue and say, we need to cut funds. How can we save money, Martha? And just by reorganizing the coupon department billing system at Target, I saved $1 million a year. I'd like to use those same kind of skills down at the Capitol. Secondly, I'm known as somebody who can work with people on both sides of the aisle. There's an awful lot of people in Sheboygan County that were very surprised to hear that I'm a Democrat because I am so fiscally responsible. But I believe that we have good skills on both sides of that aisle, and we need to work together as Wisconsinites to make what's better for our state and do less party politics. And third, you might be able to tell by my personality that I'm a bit of a promoter, and I think District 9 really could use somebody down at the Capitol that will reach out and bring the resources back to our district that we can utilize to make our economy strong there and help bring businesses to our area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Martha Lanning of Sheboygan is a Democrat running in Senate District 9. Martha, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.